Joining us now to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Arise News analyst Emmanuel Efeni. Great Malabite, good Efeni.
Good morning, Ruben. Good morning, Rufai. Good morning, Ayo.
Good morning.
Yes, let's start the review with this day, Nigeria's newspaper of record. The lead story, May 29, 2023, handover date is Sacrosanct. Buhari assures Nigerians. Federal government hits opposition for downplaying president's achievement. Describe Atiku as worst offender. We have created 16,648 jobs in 2022, says Water Resources Minister. Yes, the President Muhammadu Buhari, reassuring Nigerians about the handover date. Well, I thought that was a no-brainer because there's no constitutional provision for any form of extension or elongation of tenure. But again, this is a fledgling democracy, African. So perhaps now and again, we need this assurance. But the electoral process is on, and by May 29 next year, there will be a change of guard. President Buhari is not running because he has completed his constitutionally mandatory 2 tenure. So handover will take place. Now, the Daily Independent newspaper is also reporting that story. My handing over power on May 29 remains sacrosanct. Buhari asks army to be politically neutral, safeguard human rights. Now, the other story of the day, I will go back to this day. Let's start from this day. The other major story of the day. Yes, the window story. Tinubu, Nigeria's next president, should be determined by voters. Yes, protests at Chatham House as PDP condemns APC candidate for answering questions through surrogates. Analysts say rule by unelected proxies dangerous, unacceptable to nation. Many newspapers are also reporting the Chatham House appearance of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the presidential candidate of the APC. Now, the Daily Trust newspaper reporting this story. Tinubu takes campaign to UK. Atiku woos Lagos voters. How I will tackle insecurity, energy crisis, ex-Lagos governor. Now, the Nation newspaper reporting the story. Tinubu points way forward on power, security, orders. Chatham House host APC candidate El-Rufai, Wale Edun, Gbajabiamila, Ayade, Alake, Better Edu speak. We must recalibrate domestic policy to revamp the economy. Yes. Now, Business Day also has its own perspective of this Tinubu's outing in London. Tinubu distanced himself from weak economy under Buhari. Yes, and the Business Day newspaper has reported that Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the presidential candidate of APC, on Monday tactically distanced himself from the fragile economy that President Muhammadu Buhari looks set to hand over on May 29, 2022. Now, the Vanguard newspaper also has its own perspective. INEC yet to assure us on Beavers, Tinubu, and of course, the Guardian newspaper also has a different report altogether. Yes, the Guardian newspaper there. 7 years after Buhari falters on 24 million jobs promise. The Guardian newspaper looking at the promise of President Muhammadu Buhari, of course, the employment figures from the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, talking about almost 60% unemployment in the land. something that lends credence to the fact that a lot of work has to be done by the next president. Now, if we look at the foreign newspapers quickly, now the Times of London, 1 in 7 denied GP appointment. Millions of patients turned away, while others wait for over a month as Labour vows to train more doctors. Yes, 5 million people a month are unable to book appointment with a GP. Yes. Unable to book appointment with a GP when they want one. Of course, with the number doubling over within the last 1 year, from 2.7 million in October 2021 to doubling to 2.7 million from October 2021 this time around. Of course, this analysis has been done by the Labour Party that is promising to recruit more doctors for the NHS. We're talking about the NHS here, and of course, the impact of this is that many people now besiege the accident and emergency section because their ailments are not diagnosed early, and it's only when it gets to that critical point that they find their way to the accident and emergency section. Now, the Daily Mail newspaper, bombshell, new trailer with race and hate slur, fury at Success's Netflix claim of war on Meghan. Yes, one newspaper described Harry and Meghan as British version of the Kardashians. Well, with that trailer and the fury that it is arousing in the UK, we'll have a lot of backlash coming from all sides. But one thing, it's like the Queen was taken away not to see this kind of situation where the Successes are out there berating how the royal family lived their lives. Ruben, Rufai, and Ayo.
Mr. Feni, would you like to go back to Tribune before we make general comment?
Well, we don't have Tribune on our, not even the soft copy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we don't have the Tribune.
Soft copy
okay,
is
good.
there now.
Yeah.
Federal government moves review of university autonomy laws. Yes.
Okay, first, where do we start from? Let me start with the Tinubu story.
Yeah.
Which is the thing that everybody has been getting excited over. Well, he didn't show up at the debate to which he was invited in Nigeria, but he showed up at Chatham House. Chatham House is a prestigious platform, where people try to engage with the public. And we had Mr. John Cookson, who said, well, it has its own advantages. It may not be in the mainstream media in the UK this morning, but at least on social media. So in terms of publicity, it's useful. Although the caveat that I added when I commented on it previously was that, well, the people in the UK, they don't vote. And Asiwaju Tinubu is not seeking to become Prime Minister of the UK. He's seeking to be President of Nigeria. So for whatever value, maybe the publicity that Mr. Cookson referred to on social media will have some kind of impact.
But there's publicity in Nigerian newspaper based on that.
Yes, so publicity,
yeah,
social media, mainstream media in Nigeria. And the subjects that he addressed, security, the economy, and foreign policy, these are important issues. And you could see that in the scripted speech that he read, he tried to address the key issues to talk to his audience.
Yes.
Talking about how Nigeria is so important in West Africa, how Nigeria will avoid, the kind of crisis we have had in Guinea, Equatorial, in Mali, in Chad, and how Nigeria will remain the bastion of democracy. Those are the kind of things, that the international community would like to hear. So, I really cannot fault the script.
But the audience there was largely Nigerian.
Yeah, but it was also to an international community, given the nature of the
platform. Yeah.
Because it will be documented, it will be circulated. And he was talking also about Nigeria's leadership role, electoral integrity, which he says is committed, and he talked about, ensuring that, he supports a pacifist approach to election, even if he has not personally signed the peace accord.
Peace accord,
as some people were pointing out. He talked about agriculture, he talked about technology, he talked about security, the usual, things, so the scripted speech was fine. However, the other issue was that it was delegating
the Q&A session.
Some of the questions. I see Mr. Dele Alake has tried to justify that to say it's one of his innovations. He's showing leadership. Is he running a cabinet before the cabinet?
No, is he not?
He's not been elected yet.
Is he not counting your chickens even before
he's already running a cabinet, and I guess that may create tension. Does he want to make Nasir El-Rufai Minister of Police Affairs by asking him to comment on insecurity? Because is he going to make Dele Alake Minister of Petroleum? Some of these people will start sharing these portfolios.
Ruben.
And that was why. I haven't finished.
Okay, you have finished.
And that was why. Do you know me, I think he was clowning. He was saying, these questions that you are sharing, you are a question allocator and all of that. But I guess Dino Melaye was playing politics. But Nigerians will expect that the candidate will not be absent at his own naming ceremony. When you go to write an exam, you don't delegate people to write it for you. That would be presumptuous when you have not even been elected. So if they ask you questions, demonstrate knowledge, demonstrate capacity, demonstrate ability. So I don't get the argument about saying, the presidential candidate wants to show that he has a team. That was why he was delegating questions.
What they call the team sheet.
Whatever that means. Some of them didn't sound as intelligent as they should, though. That's part of the problem.
May I just jump on what Dr. said? And in terms of, I'm so sorry, because I wish we had more time, because this is definitely a hot topic. Now, interestingly, when you were speaking, to be fair, I thought that in terms of, it did come across as this was the potential cabinet he was going to have. And on some end, it ought to be praised because in the UK, you have shadow ministers. And they demonstrate...
I was even coming to that.
Yes.
That can we start calling these shadow petroleum minister?
I think it would cause infighting. However,
we are not running parliamentary system yet.
So I wanted to just comment on that, because in the spirit of objectivity and to be fair, you should have. We complained when President Buhari came into power the first time in 2015. It took him months to present a cabinet. If our aspirants are demonstrating that I already have my team in place, if I were to be elected, shouldn't that be praised? I'm not saying he shouldn't respond to questions, though, so I'm not justifying that. However, I'm just making a case for that in terms of that.
I have a lot to say. Let's not deceive ourselves. What I saw at Chatham House was a joke. It felt like a scene from Ghanaian comedian Shatta Bundle. It's a big joke. Let's not deceive ourselves. We want a good country and want people to state it. Ayo, I get your point about delegation. What nonsensical delegation? When have you seen Rishi Sunak call people to come and answer questions for him when he's debating the opposition leader at the Prime Minister's question time? Out of the 16 hostings, or over 30 hostings they had, when did you see Rishi Sunak call another person to come and speak for him when he's supposed to address the people? It's time for us to call a spade in this country. That was a disgrace on Nigeria as a country, that a presidential candidate went to Chatham House, where he's supposed to espouse his idea, and he's calling people to answer questions that were asked from him. Can't you see the way that journalist had to ask him, sir, is this how you're going to be calling people to answer questions for you, where you are supposed to be the one speaking yourself? He called Nasir El-Rufai to speak on security. Has Nasir El-Rufai been able to sort out this problem of insecurity in Kaduna State?
Kaduna State.
It
was a bad call.
Has he been able to sort out his problem of insecurity?
If there was an army general retired in that gathering, you
called him to somebody to come and speak for him as regards the economy. Has the APC government not prevailed over an economy that has gone downward the drain? They promised over 27 million jobs. They can't give it. Third quarter 2020 now. We've not seen unemployment numbers. I dare the MBS to release statistics for unemployment numbers as we speak. I feel ashamed as a Nigerian. I've got nothing against any presidential candidate, but I am a Nigerian, and when a Nigerian presidential candidate should go and make us proud at a public gathering abroad, they should also remember that people like us are Nigerians. And anything they say about Nigerians overseas, it robs us of on our image.
Well, Rufai.
Section 5 of the 1999 Constitution allows the Nigerian president to delegate authority because the powers of that executive branch is concentrated in the person of the president. But as Rufai said, people should not, did you say chicken and egg or something?
Counting their chicken before they are out.
People should not count their chicken before they are out. So when a man wants to lead, he's coming for an exam. People want to assess you.
Yes.
My friend, you do the questions yourself. If you ask other people to come and ask, that is called cheating.
Cheating.
The invigilators will be wondering whether you know what you are putting yourself into. And the buck stops.
Have other people not gone to this Chatham house and answer questions themselves?
So an ideal situation is, because I have been even in the private sector, at top level meetings where the CEO would delegate to the head of a business to respond to it. Let me land. However, as you mentioned, the buck does stop with the CEO, and he's able to articulate himself on every issue, even if not as from an expert perspective, but have an overview to respond as all other candidates have done. So that's where I'll fault that. I don't think he's not able to delegate for a better response, especially if they are members of his team. However, I do think that he ought to have been able to speak to every single issue and ask for an in-depth response from his surrogates. But in terms of I'm happy to see a candidate presenting for his team forward that these are my potential team members who are going to help me take this nation to greater heights, because leadership is not by one person. It's not by an individual.
Team members will still have to go to Senate.
They will still have to go to Senate.
Clearance.
And Ayo, a shadow cabinet has been fully appointed already. It's different from this. These are campaign surrogates and friends. There's a huge difference with a shadow cabinet. In fact, a shadow cabinet, positions have been given already. That's why we have shadow Brexit minister, shadow chancellor of the exchequer, shadow this, shadow that. Positions have been allocated.
But Dr.
What
Bati,
positions were they allocated?
Dr. Bati said police minister, potential minister of police officer.
No, he was just joking. He was just joking. No position will be allocated.
Sure, Nasir Rufai doesn't want to be police affairs minister. He will prefer the oil ministry.
Ruben, two things. Look, we don't want a situation tomorrow. We will not hear that a cabal has hijacked our president. We heard that.
Yes.
And now we are forming, whether you call it teamship, I don't know what that means, or in future we will not be hearing that it's a cabal that is taking decision for our president. We don't want that. But from the performance of Asiwaju yesterday, Ruben, if you don't sympathize, I do. I can see why he cannot come to our town hall meeting. Who will answer all those questions for him? Will he be picking his team from the crowd to answer those questions?
So I can answer straightforward questions.
No.
Yes,
they are not.
Were those questions just not straightforward?
They were straightforward questions.
If you don't know how to tackle our security problems, the president, say it yourself. You don't have it on your fingertips, and you want to be commander-in-chief of the Nigerian Armed Forces? Come on. Well, Nigerians are watching. They are seeing the candidates on different platforms. You don't have to come to our...
Don't campaign.
No. What I'm saying is that you don't have to come to our if you don't want to come.
No.
But Nigerians...
One of the things Asiwaju Tinubu said is that the people of Nigeria should be allowed to make their choice. And I think that's an important point.
He also accused some people of trying to use it to make money. because it's marketable.
Who wants to make money?
He didn't mention
did you know
anybody,
Heritage?
so, I
He,
mean,
he mentioned that the reason why he wouldn't attend
that-
town hall meetings,
Why? It's a
but that's
brand
not a
now.
valid
They can-
yes, that's not
anybody
a
can
valid
all we
do
just
it.
want is
It's
face the
marketable.
questions yourself.
Yeah, Thank you.